We are back. It is another episode of the Find Me in Seattle podcast. Today is Friday, August 14th, and thank you for joining my show. For the start of the show, I'm sorry for all those of you listening. You're not going to be able to see it. This is more focused on the people here watching on YouTube. But the jersey that I'm wearing, of all the things I talk about, pretty much the shirt that I'm wearing is the thing that gets a majority of all the comments. So I realized maybe I should start pointing these things out because I'm usually wearing some Seattle-focused shirt or branded shirt of some kind because I've received a bunch of different shirts over the years from different local businesses and companies and designers. But today I'm wearing a shirt or jersey, a soccer jersey I just received from a team in London. It's one of London's oldest football clubs called Leyton Orient, and not necessarily something special about Leyton Orient, but their jerseys this year are sponsored by a very famous soccer player named Harry Kane. He plays for Tottenham Hotspurs, and this was his first club that he played for. He was born just down the street from their stadium, and he sponsored their jerseys for this 2020-2021 season. And for their 3 jerseys, he put nonprofit sponsors on them. And so the kit that I just got, we ordered it months ago, says, "Thank you, Frontline Heroes." And I just think it was awesome the first time I saw it, and I was like, that is a very creative way to spend your sponsorship dollars. And if you're going to sponsor a jersey, I just think it was a cool way to support frontline workers and something interesting. And I hope more teams copy this principle. I'd love to obviously see the Sounders do the same thing with their Zulily sponsorship as well. But enough for the jersey. Let's jump into this week's show. Lots going on here at Find Me in Seattle and just in Seattle in general. And so as we have been doing since we restarted the show, we're going to start the show with a This Week in Seattle news. Here are some of the things that I saw as headlines or articles that I read that maybe you should know about. So the big thing that happened this week was Chief Carmen Best is stepping down as the chief of the Seattle Police. This is surrounded by a ton of controversy if you've been keeping up with anything that's been going on here in the city since, specifically since the first week of June, but really over the course of years in Seattle. So she stepped down, and the dominoes that fell with her stepping down are very interesting because Seattle City Council were very active this week. And on Monday, they approved to somewhat defund the police, not nearly as close to the 50% that they are planning on defunding, but it was surrounded by a lot of data that came out about police officers and the salary that they make. You can form your own opinion about how much they make and how much they're valued in our society, and their job, I will say, is very, very difficult. And so it's not a job that I would want to do. You'd have to pay me a lot of money to do that job, but that's for you to decide on how you feel about that. So that happened on Monday. She put in her resignation. Lots of different opinions, obviously, this defund the police and opinions about the police are far and wide at this point. And so they passed that. She stepped down. And then also on Wednesday, I believe, the city council also passed a what they're calling the COVID-19 Relief Fund. And last week we talked about this in the show. Mayor Jenny Durkin vetoed the $86 million that they had in their rainy day fund to go into this relief. And so instead this week they passed $57 million are going into this relief fund. I'm not too sure how that's going to be spent. We will see. I hope it's spent in the right way and given to, it's tough to decide who's going to get that money and how that's going to be spent. There's so many people that are struggling right now. That's not an easy job to figure that out whatsoever. And the controversy with both these votes on Monday and later in the week was that the council member Sawant both voted against both of these proposals. So 7-1 was this most recent one with the COVID relief. And she said for the COVID relief fund that it was a budget cut and she wasn't happy with the amount of money. And same thing with the defund the police proposal, was she wasn't very happy with how much she didn't feel like it was enough, so she voted against both of it. And I think that's very interesting for her to vote against it, kind of in a stance saying that it's not enough. It's an interesting stance to take. I can understand why you vote against it, because you want more, you want something better. But in previous episodes, we've talked about legacy. A lot of time these legacies come down to, like, these things get quoted when re-elections come back around, or when we talk about history, right? In 10 years from now, they're going to look at different people's voting strategies, and I'm curious if that will be used against her, because if these things, depending how they play out, people aren't going to really remember the reasons on why you voted. They're just going to remember what you voted. I mean, we see the same thing in politics every day with Congress people, senators, presidents, and how they make their decisions really just comes down to did they vote yes or did they vote no, and we don't really talk about the reason. So that's going to be very interesting. But I don't want to talk about the city council. There's plenty of other podcasts to go talk about the city council. That's not my thing here. So what else happened? Seattle public schools are going virtual in the fall. That is a big announcement, something that I'm personally happy to see, because we can't put those teachers' lives at risk. It's a dangerous environment to put them in. They don't have a start date set yet, and they even threw around ideas of doing outdoor schooling, and that was interesting. But what I noticed going on within society is there are wealthier people who are trying to create these private schools, like in their houses, right? Hire a teacher, get 3, 4, 5, 6 students of your friends, pay this teacher really well, and have that teacher do the teaching kind of in an outdoor backyard classroom. I mean, it could even be an indoor classroom, but it makes the classroom really tiny. They're still getting a level of education. They're probably going to get a better level of education, in my opinion, because they're getting more one-on-one attention than you would in a 30, 40 person classroom. And unfortunately, you have to be wealthy to do this. Public school is more or less free, despite some of the schooling expenses, but you have to pay this teacher to come do that. So that is a benefit of having the money to do that. And if I always take the perspective here of the teachers, I have family members who are teachers and friends who are teachers. And if I was a teacher, being a teacher is actually something I always wanted to do, but I was too intimidated that I didn't think I could actually make a living doing it. And if I was a teacher right now and I had some of those connections, I would be trying my hardest to be establishing myself as a contractor and finding a couple families to set up one of these little private schools, because the school system is going to be a mess. Every child right now, every person under 18, even in college, I guess, who is in school are going to really be struggling. This is going to be a hard year, and everyone's going to take a hit and a loss for this year. Lack of education. Because even if you're going to go to school, I just can't imagine that the schooling is going to be all that good. There's just too many things going on in the world for kids to focus, for teachers to focus, to really dive into the ABCs, right? And so if I was a teacher, I think this is a really interesting idea. Obviously, very, very few spots to find this opportunity, but I'm sure some entrepreneurial teachers are taking advantage of this, and they're, especially like down in the Bay Area in LA, where there's a little bit more wealth. I bet it's happening here in Seattle as well. But setting up these teaching pods, it's a great opportunity. If I was a teacher, that would be something that I would be trying to find, because I think that sounds pretty sweet to get paid probably way more. I mean, some of these, I would say all these teachers' families are going in. I would bet that a lot of them are already sending their kids to private school. And man, if you're going to pay that teacher $100K, you can't make that as a teacher here in America. And I think that would be an amazing opportunity. And I'm curious of where that is going to go as a future and a possibility. An independent, almost like homeschool teacher, sounds like that's going to be a new profession. I don't know how we do with accreditation and everything, but right now, I feel like it's all a wash. So this year, everything's going to change. I mean, all the systems from healthcare, policing, schooling, how we all do business is all changing right now. So it could be an interesting opportunity. And I thought that was a good idea. Obviously, only particular to a certain demographic of people, unfortunately. Another big thing in the news was Pier 58, which Pier 58 and the park, Waterfront Park, which is between the Seattle Great Wheel and the aquarium, has shifted due to natural causes. And there's actually like a couple inches between the park now and the pier, which is obviously very, very dangerous. And that came out and they shut down the park. I believe the Great Wheel and the aquarium are going to remain open, however. Park is shut down and it's going to be closed until 2024. So this is just another big city hit to have this. I mean, it's going to be, it feels like between this and the West Seattle Bridge, we have like two pending disasters happening. I guess with Pier 58 that they already have the budget set aside for the fixes. So there's not necessarily going to be new money, but we know that none of these projects go under budget. I believe when the Pier Park was done, it was over budget also, which was just done, I think, in 2017. So it's not a good look to be having this issue. And this is just another infrastructure issue that we have going on, which is just, you keep hearing about these every month, and that's not a good sign for our city and the financial stability and infrastructure of the city. It's a big concern. There's just so many things that we got to work on. And this goes back to the city council. I mean, I got respect for anyone who ran to stay on city council, because what a tough job that is right now to deal with all of these issues going on. It is just absolutely crazy. You think about all the things that I just ran down here in the news. Like, these are all things that would have the sole attention of our community if they are by themselves, and we're stacking all of these things on top of each other. It is so crazy right now. So thank you for reviewing some of these things with me and hearing about the craziness. I hate to be putting more fear in, and I got to find some better headlines. And so the one headline that I really liked and was really more applicable to what I do here at Find Me in Seattle was that Optimism Brewing in Capitol Hill was the first business approved for the city's new free street closer permit. And so Optimism got this permit because they've actually been trying to apply for this space. It's not on an arterial street, but they've been applying for this space for years, I guess. And so that kind of bumped them up. That's why they're in priority and they're the first ones to get it. And they're offering right now work tables for the morning. It's $15 to $20 per person, and they give you this outdoor space, this table. I assume they've got good Wi-Fi there, and you can work, and it's just a little bit different. And I'm excited to see, do people use it? One, is it a good place to work, right? Because I have been curious about some of these outdoor spaces, and could I actually be productive in those spots? I think I would need to bring a specific type of work to those spots, something that obviously doesn't take a maximum amount of brain power, right? If I'm making Facebook posts for clients or writing captions or doing like basic editing, I think that would be a good place to do it. But yeah, so Optimism Brewing's getting that spot. I guess there's about 20 other businesses that are trying to get these outdoor spaces, and I am really excited for this potential. If you walk down Market Street in Ballard, you see a lot of outdoor spaces. Belltown was already working on a bunch of those spots beforehand, but like shutting down streets and having this European cafe style would be so cool to see. I think so many people are always impressed, or when they go to Europe and they walk down a street and all of these businesses have all these tables sitting outside, and people come and they have a glass of wine and they have a coffee, they have a snack, and they kind of experience the world on the outside, and they get to see people walking by. I think that is a very cool piece of European culture, and I would love to see that implemented here in America due to this pandemic and see that shift within our culture. I think that'd be really cool, but that comes down to city design and permits and space, and it's a very difficult solution to come to, but the world's kind of forcing it right now. So I think that's really cool. We've already started shutting down streets, which we know all these things cause problems no matter what, right? So we've just got to deal with those problems. Any new solution is going to take some work, but I'm really excited about having these outdoor spaces and these free permits for businesses. I'm glad the city's not charging. That would be horrendous if they did, but having these outdoor spaces is really cool. I hope they stay safe and people use them wisely, and yeah, maybe I'll go check them out here at some point. All right, let's move on to what else happened. This is the segment of the show where I talk specifically about things going on here at Find Me in Seattle. I want to promote this new series of episodes and that I'm creating. And right now I'm titling them Find Me in Seattle Shorts. The concept being that they are 59 seconds and their videos, they are landscape. So they're not portrait like you're seeing on TikTok or Instagram Reels, but they're more made honestly for YouTube and for Google. And they're just short little videos about businesses that I'm visiting and how they have adapted to COVID-19. So obviously it's a lot of restaurants and food and places that are doing to-go services, but I'm also working in other retail-based businesses and services, kind of like how I always do, doing different things. And I just want to promote businesses in a different way. I feel like I'm a little behind. I've been wanting to do this for a long time with the 59-second clips because those fit well in all of the platforms all across the board. And I just want something easy for all these businesses to also take. Not only can they promote it, they can put it on their website, they can put it on their Google My Business page. That's really the key usage of this, is it's something short and digestible, and not only does it benefit you as the viewer, but more importantly for me, I want it to benefit the business so they have multiple applications for it, right? And I feel a little weird because with Instagram Reels coming out and TikTok being so popular in the way those are edited, the vertical format is still an issue though. And that's why I haven't really been doing them in that style, is from the business perspective, taking that vertical format and putting it within your Google search and putting it on the Google My Business page and putting it on YouTube just doesn't work. So I'm kind of digging into the ground, and as everyone is shifting to doing these like interesting edited musical videos, I'm still focused on like what works best for the local businesses long term and something that they can integrate into their websites specifically. And so Find Me in Seattle Shorts, I've probably filmed at least 8 of these. I've now edited 3. I've released 2 of them. The third one will come out hopefully this weekend, and I've got a lot more to go. I'm just trying to figure out design and make these quick, right? Hopefully I can edit them in 90 minutes to 2 hours and get them out for local businesses. And we'll see. This is a big experiment about a new product that I want to sell here at Find Me in Seattle. As the pandemic hit, I'm realizing that local businesses are hard clients to have, and I've realized that for a long time. I've got kind of a set of retainer clients that operate different types of businesses, but I want to keep giving back to all these local small mom and pop restaurants and retail businesses. And I think this is an interesting thing to do, where I wouldn't have to charge a ton of money because the time isn't huge, but it's a nice visual that is edited and concise, and it's not super high end, but still easy to use, and they can apply it in different places. So I'm hoping this is something that, I want to do 30 videos over the next 60 to 90 days, and we'll see where I can go from there. And maybe it's something that I can actually promote and sell and offer as a service to continue to work with these local businesses. That is just something different than what a lot of the other Instagrammers or influencers or marketing agencies are doing. And so, yeah, check out Find Me in Seattle Shorts. I'm posting them everywhere. They're on Facebook. Actually, that's not everywhere. I'm posting them on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and I'll get them up with blogs here on my website eventually as well. And I hope you like them. Let me know if there's any places that you want me to go visit. My featured business of the week is down in South Seattle. It's called Baked from the Heart. It is ran by a local chef. His name is Bill Hart, and he has been baking pies and other pastries for Seattle for decades. And what he has become very known for is his sweet bean pie. It was the first time I ever tried sweet bean pie. It's kind of different from sweet potato pie, but it's got a hint of cinnamon. Absolutely delicious. I loved it. I got that. I got a blackberry pie, and I think we had an apple cobbler pie, and I was so impressed. I didn't know what to expect when I went there. They're all individually packaged. They're kind of single serving, so they're small. They weren't giant pies. But where it is it's in this house that's in South Seattle. It's at the cross section of MLK and Rainier Ave, and it's on the center floor of this house. I'm not really sure what is above in the house. Maybe Bill lives there. I'm not totally sure. But you walk in, and immediately you're like, whoa, this is a house. It's this maroon and tan house, and it smells incredible when you walk in there. And when I walked in, I did not expect to see Bill himself sitting there ready to serve me. And that was really cool. So right away I asked him, Bill, you're the guy you're the pie guy, as he likes to say. What should I get? And immediately he's like, you got to get the sweet bean pie. That's what we're known for. And then he also pointed out a few others. So we got the apple and the blackberry. And I will be going back. I highly recommend you go check him out and say hi to Bill Hart over there at Baked from the Heart in South Seattle. They just deserve more credit. I don't think a lot of people know about the deliciousness coming out of that house. And go check them out. You're looking for something a little bit different, not the trendy, Instagrammable desserts that you can get all around the city. This is just something that it's all in the name. It's Baked from the Heart. What else did I eat this week? On Thursday night, I visited La Palmera in South Lake Union. It's right on Mercer. Since they've been open for well over a year now, I've driven by so many times and been like, I got to eat there. And they happened to post on Instagram yesterday while I was in decision mode for food and was like, oh yeah, La Palmera. Let's go get there. I live right down the street. We'll go check them out. And what Amanda and I got was they titled the Fiesta Kit. It was $35. It was this giant tray. Came with quesadillas, taquitos, and nachos. And then obviously like guacamole, salsa, chips, all those good things. And it was just a ton of food. And for $35, it easily could have fed three. It's a good meal for two people. If you're younger, you don't eat a ton, you could get three people. But when it comes to the quesadillas and the taquitos, I think two people is the right amount. But for $35, that's not bad for food to go. And La Palmera, thought it was pretty good. One of our other friends got the carne asada fajitas, and there was a lot of carne asada. It did run like $24. So I think that she got plenty of food. It was probably 2 meals worth of food, which was great. I think that's the interesting part of the changing economics of all of these food places is they're doing these kits and they're doing to-go food, and it's clear that prices have been going up. Things have been getting a lot more expensive. But when you're getting 2 meals of food and you're getting 2 servings of steak, that actually makes sense. And I think that works out for the business financially as well, which is really what the goal is here, is to make sure that they stay funded. And so if you get dinner one night and then you also get leftover lunch, and you spend $25 plus tip, I think that's kind of fair for the world that we live in. And in Seattle, we're an expensive city, but there's no doubt that prices have gone up. It's been very clear if you've been eating out as much as I have. Another place that I went, I was over on the east side for a meeting earlier in the week, and I ate at Regent Bakery. You can find them in Redmond as well as Capitol Hill. And what Amanda and I love about Regent Bakery is their hambao. They have red pork bao, and we also love the pineapple buns or pineapple baos. For those of you who are unfamiliar, they're can't describe a bao, but they're buns, right? And they're filled, right? So there's delicious bread, and they're filled with something. So pork is really savory, and we like the pineapple for the sweet. The one that I got this time that I know Amanda doesn't like, so I'm keeping it for myself, is the pineapple coconut bao, and it's stuffed with coconut, and it has pineapple on the top, and that was absolutely delicious. Highly recommend Regent Bakery. That's like a family favorite of ours, especially when we go to the east side. It's one of the most common places that we like to stop. And then this upcoming weekend, I am working on a new show with my friend Mark. He goes by at Mr. Well Traveled on Instagram. And we've been having this conversation, especially since the pandemic started, about starting some type of show and doing some episodes about talking about community and the importance of community, how we're involved and what we're doing to continue to be involved with the community. And so this weekend we're recording the official first episode of what we're titling Community is a Verb. So stay tuned for that. I'm not totally sure on where we're going to be distributing that, but it'll be on YouTube because we're recording the conversation, and we'll also have a podcast. So stay tuned next week and I'll give you guys the details about where that podcast is going to be published and that conversation between Mark and I. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's just something different. And him and I, whenever we meet up, we had these like long 4 or 5 hour conversations about community and the things that we're involved in. So we're excited to start that show here on Saturday. And that concludes the episode here of the Find Me in Seattle podcast. Thank you very much for joining me this week. We will see you next Friday, August 21st for another episode. And thanks a lot. As always, do the review thing, like, comment, whatever you want to talk about. I'm here to listen, and I appreciate you guys for listening. again to my ridiculous show.